Welcome to Into the Night. I'm Nari, your guide on today's excursion down a twisted path. Be careful not to get lost. Be it dark or light, it's easy to lose your way. Are you ready? Then let's begin. Under the weather. The last few hours of her teaching day grew increasingly more miserable. The students were great, and Madeline Hale loved being a teacher. But by the time the day ended, a sudden flu gained the upper hand in her life. Fevers, chills, a pounding headache, and a perpetual runny nose made every moment a drag. The ticking clock on the wall seemed to slow down as she longed for the last bell of the day to ring. When the students left after the last class, she assembled substitute lesson plans and gathered her purse and a few papers to grade. What was I thinking, blaming this on allergies? I feel like I'm burning up. Even the kids said I look like I feel terrible and that I should go home. It's not that easy, though. I can't just walk out of school in the middle of the day and go home. Stopping by the high school office on the way out, she poked her head in the door. Sandra? Yes, Madeline? I hate to do this on such short notice, but I'm coming down with the flu that's circulating in the school. Can you find a sub for me? I already left lesson plans in my room. The secretary furrowed her brow. Well, I'll try. We have 3 games tomorrow, so I've already assigned most of our regular subs to cover for the coaches. I don't mean to be sick. I'm sure you don't. Sandra then turned her attention to the paperwork on her desk. Isn't that just great? I hardly ever miss, and I'm clearly sick. Maybe I should just cough on all of them. Madeline hated having such ugly thoughts, but she was tired, feverish, and rightfully irritated that her emergency didn't seem to matter to the school she devoted her career to. If all they wanted is a warm body to fill my spot, I have a hot one that they probably don't want to be around. They act like the world will stop spinning if a teacher uses a sick day. She practically staggered to her car and made a quick stop at the local dollar store to pick up cold remedies and drove the 1-hour commute home with a fever radiating from her every pore. By the time she reached her home in the woods, she shook uncontrollably and her teeth chattered from the fever. Chills. Doesn't adequately describe what I have going on. Her headache raged, and as soon as she walked into the house, she headed for her bedroom to change into pajamas. She brought with her the bag of cold medicine she purchased. Once in her PJs, she walked into the bathroom, flipped on the light, and looked in the mirror. Holy crap, I look terrible. She did, in fact, look terrible. Her little dog looked up at her sympathetically. I know, Sophie. Your mama isn't feeling well at all. Sophie watched her owner with sad brown eyes and wagged her tail. Come on, girl. Let's go to bed. Madeline plumped the pillows and patted the comforter to signal for Sophie to join her. The combination of the cold medicine and exhaustion caused her to fall asleep. During the night, however, she awoke with a cough. She stumbled to the bathroom and took a swig of the cough medicine. Unsure of how long it had been since she took her first dose of cold medicine, she took more of that too, in hopes the fever and sinus congestion would go away. If a little is good, a lot will be better. Sophie loyally followed her into the bathroom and retreated to the bed with Madeline. Try as she may, however, sleep didn't come easily. She dozed off and on, but no true rest arrived. Groggy and miserable, she sent a text to Sandra. I'm sorry, but I am extremely sick and will need a sub. I'm sorry. A wave of guilt washed over her. I just don't know what else to do. I'm too sick to even drive to work, let alone teach. Sophie, sensing her distress, wiggled her way next to Madeline and placed her head on her chest. Madeline patted her little dog and appreciated the companionship. Madeline drifted off to sleep, but was awakened later by Sophie's growling. What's wrong, girl? The terrier stood at attention, trembling and staring intently at the bedroom window while she quietly barked and growled. Madeline sat up in bed. Lightning flashed in the sky. It's okay, Sophie. It's just going to rain. You've seen thunderstorms before. Sophie did not relax, but she nestled against Madeline. Baby, you're shaking worse than I am. It's gonna be okay. The poor little dog whimpered, and Madeline held her. The lightning continued to flash outside. It must be very close, because I don't hear any thunder yet. I need to try to sleep, though. That storm can arrive when it does. I'm exhausted. Fitful sleep followed, and when she awoke, the world was pitch black outside, except for the flickering flashes of lightning. Is it still storming? I didn't think it was even supposed to rain tonight. Sophie remained alert on the bed, and she occasionally let out a low, grumbling growl. What's going on out there, Sophie? What has you so upset? Madeline rose, rubbed her face with her hands, and looked down at Sophie. Let's go take a look. Sleepy and a little unsteady on her feet, Madeline walked through the house and stepped out onto the front porch. The cool concrete felt good to her feverish feet. The lights continued to flash in the sky with no thunder, and a heavy fog enveloped the landscape. Sophie bristled and stepped backward. Madeline opened her mouth to tell Sophie everything was okay, but then she heard it. A strange howl came down the hollow, followed by other animalistic sounds. Coyotes? She listened intently, but those didn't sound like coyotes. Dog-like, possibly. Wild, yes. Not coyotes, however. Madeline grew up in the country, and she knew the normal sounds of the night. An involuntary shudder went through her body. She bent down and picked up her terrier, stepping inside while glancing behind her. She nervously watched through the glass window of her front door. I don't understand why there's lightning but no thunder. And shouldn't the storm have passed already? She found her phone and clicked on the weather app. This doesn't show any clouds at all. No storm predicted and nothing showing up on the radar. Let me check the other app. Nothing appeared on the other app either. This doesn't make any sense. An unsettling fear pried its way into Madeline's consciousness. Sophie's trembling and frantic barking didn't help Madeline allay her anxiety. Something just isn't right. She left Sophie inside and decided to take another look outside. Stepping onto the porch, the wind whipped her hair in strands across her face. The fog isn't moving, even though the wind is blowing. What is going on? And what are those lights? The howling frenzy now encircled the house, growing more intense with every passing moment. Fear overtook her, and she raced inside and locked the door behind her. The sound of the wind pelted the sides of her house, and the fog grew increasingly dense as she looked out the window. Sophie whined in terror and raced around Madeline's feet. I must be dreaming. That's all this is. A fever-induced nightmare. She huddled in her bed, clutching her dog for hours, but daylight never came. Nothing now existed outside her house but the fog, the lights, and the frightening howls. She desperately tried to call for help, but her phone was useless. This can't be. She turned on the television, but the screen said no signal. Her emergency radio produced nothing but static. The hands on her clock, however, spun wildly. No one existed to hear her screams. No one existed to ever see Madeline Hale again. No one existed at all. Thank you for joining me for this episode of the Into the Night Anthology podcast. Written by Caroline Giamanco, narrated by Nari Kwak. Theme music by Nico Rodriguez. All other original music, sound design, and editing by Omen Hawk Studios. You can find our links in the show notes. Into the Night is on your favorite podcatcher, so make sure to like, subscribe, and leave a 5-star review to help other excursionists to join us. I'll see you next time. And remember, whether in the shadows or in the daylight, all twisted paths lead you into the night. Into the Night Anthology is a Creative Typo Entertainment production.